We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. At this time, we'd ask the city clerk to take roll, please.
Mayor Villegas Walker,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Edney,
Present.
Councilmember Sanders,
Here.
Councilmember Solomon.
Here.
If you'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
Please join me as we salute our flag and our country. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we come this evening with our heads bowed and our hearts are humbled. We come to you, Lord, in childlike simplicity, seeking your divine guidance. Lord, we ask that you would give us the wisdom of Solomon, the courage of David, the patience of Job, and the strength of Samson as we deliberate the issues that are so important to this community. We ask special blessing on those who are not well. We ask blessings on those who are protecting our country and fighting for freedom. Those who have paid the ultimate price, dear Lord, we ask that you would put your arms of protection around their families who may be grieving. For those who have lost loved ones, we ask that you would touch them with your hand of mercy. These and all blessings we ask in thy Son's name. Amen.
Amen. I thought you were going to say the wisdom of Solomon, the patience of Walker.
Oh, I see was on
Did
a
she
roll
say
there.
Walker and patience in the same sentence?
When she started with Solomon and wisdom, I know patience of Walker.
Wasn't that?
It wasn't that Solomon.
No,
you were
wasn't that
referring to.
Solomon, no.
All right, at this time, we turn to our city attorney, please, for a report on closed session.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council council did receive reports, the claims that were listed on the closed session statement. There's no action to report with regard to those items. The council also met with regard to the cases listed, and during that time, Councilmember Walker left for discussions of 3 of the cases, including Countryside versus City, McCabe versus City, and Central Union High School versus City. The council did give direction with regard to Countryside, and there's no action to report otherwise with regard to the litigation matters. The board met with its labor negotiators regarding all bargaining units and gave direction as to one particular item, and the council will resume a closed session as with regard to some additional items after the regular meeting. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. This is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, please complete a speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk. When the item is announced and your name is called, please come forward to the microphone, address yourself to the council, stating your name and address for the record. Unless your time is extended, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council on any subject matter within the council's jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. At this time, we'll defer on presentations and announcements by the mayor and go forward with scheduled public comments. We were notified that Mr. Tom Curtis, president of the Downtown El Centro Business Improvement District, sends his regrets and is unable to be with us this evening. I would ask Ms. Geraldo, Mr. Silva and I would like to have another meeting with the bid. Perhaps we could get on their calendar for sometime in November. Okay. Thank you very much. Move forward then with the consent agenda. Items 2 through 9, do we have anyone to pull an item from the consent agenda? No.
Motion to approve items 2 through 9.
Second.
A motion by Edney, second by Silva. Please ballot.
Motion carried 5-0.
Note that there was an approved resolution for item number 9 that was revised that was before us here. Okay, excellent. Moving on then to item number 10. This is a public hearing to consider an amendment to the 2010-2011 Cdbg Annual Action Plan.
Hi, Mayor, council
Presenting
members.
for Ms. Piedra.
Yes, Ms. Piedra regrets that she can't be here tonight.
I bet she does.
Mayor, council members. The City of El Centro receives funding on an annual basis under the Cdbg entitlement program to address housing and community needs. As a requirement for funding, the city is required to prepare a one-year action plan every year, which is approved by HUD. The 2010-2011 action plan was submitted to HUD on May 13th of 2010. As you know, we had the Easter earthquake, and as a result of this, we had various mobile home parks located in the city of El Centro suffered major damage, and approximately 125 mobile homes within the city were unsafe to live in due to the interior damage and substantial foundation damage to the units. So this resulted in the displacement of many families. HCD authorized the use of $100,000 of uncommitted state program income funds to the City of El Centro for the purpose of providing financial assistance to income-qualified families for earthquake disaster-related losses. Therefore, the council set up the Emergency Earthquake Assistance Program in May of 2010 to assist these families. As of September the 20th, the program has assisted 20 qualified families with food vouchers and hotel assistance at a total cost of $58,500. The city is required to amend its 2010-2011 annual action plan in order to include this emergency assistance program. Also to increase the sidewalk improvement project budget by 25%. And in addition, the staff is increasing by 25% the allocated amount to the Frazier Field parking lot improvement project, which was an improved project in the 2009-2010 action plan. The reason that the city is increasing the sidewalk improvement project is to allow city staff to procure a construction manager for the project. The Frazier Field project is being increased in order to set aside additional funds for the actual parking lot improvements and to hire a construction manager to manage the project. In your council agenda packet, you have a table that shows the three projects, the allocation, the state program income, and the reprogram funds from 2009-2010. It is the staff's recommendation that the City Council open up the public hearing in order to solicit public input and to initiate the required 30-day public comment period for the proposed substantial amendment to the city's 2010-2011 annual action plan. The substantial amendment will be available for comment in the redevelopment agency from October the 20th to November 20th of this year. Are there any questions?
I had one question, Ms. Harold, with regard to the construction manager for the sidewalk improvement project and the Frazier Field project. Will that be the same person?
The city engineering department is going to be in charge of the construction management of that, overseeing it.
Okay. Overseeing the construction manager, the retention of the construction manager?
That's correct.
Okay. And is someone prepared to say whether or not that's going to be the same person that's going to oversee both projects or not? Or is it going to be most likely two different disciplines, two different people?
Terry, can you address that?
Because either Terry or...
It's the Frazier, tell them the two
Mr.
projects.
Gay, are we talking two different people or the same person? For the Frazier Field construction management and the sidewalk improvement project construction manager for that project?
Mrs. Walker, it's too early at this time. We created the RFPs for the,
Have him come
for the sidewalk project. and
come to the
also for
microphone.
the,
Have him come to the mic.
Mr. Gay, yeah. For the benefit of the minutes, you'd identify yourself, please, even though we know who you are.
John Gay, senior engineer with the City of El Centro. We've just finished the draft RFP for the sidewalk project, and we're in the process of creating the RFP for the Frazier Field.
Okay.
It's possible that we have two different construction managers for that. They haven't gone out yet, and if the price is right, we may have one. It just depends upon what we get back.
Okay, very good. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone present in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing, return it to council. Are there any additional questions or comments? Okay. If not, we'd look for approval of the action plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Edney, second by Solomon. Please ballot.
Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, the action plan is approved as presented. Item number 11 is also a public hearing to consider approving an amendment to the city's program income reuse plan under the state community development block grant program. Ms. Harold?
Thank you. The information is the same as what I talked about before, talking about the Easter earthquake causing structural damage to public and private buildings, and in addition to the homes that were damaged here. And again, it resulted in the displacement of many families. The funding source impacted is $100,000 in uncommitted program income funds that's generated by the state Cdbg grants. HCD authorized the use of this $100,000 of uncommitted funds to the city of El Centro for the purpose of providing financial assistance to income-qualified families for earthquake disaster-related losses. As you may recall, on May the 12th, 2010, the City Council held a special meeting to approve the use of the state-generated program income for the purpose of providing the hotel and food vouchers to those families who were displaced as a result of the April earthquake. HCD requires that the city program income reuse plan to be amended to include the following revision. The city may redirect their program income funds to earthquake-related activities. Program income may be used to augment funding for an existing open Cdbg grant activity or any program income revolving loan activity. However, a public notice may have to be held to allow citizen input on the proposed changes. Therefore, it's staff recommendation that the City Council approve the amendment made to the city's program income reuse plan as submitted, and if approved, will be submitted to HCD for final approval. And there's a copy of the revised plan in there, and it's item number 3.
We have questions.
Well, I'm just going to point out, this is just really a text amendment and requiring a public hearing so that what we've already discussed and what HCD's already approved, we're just putting it into our plan.
That's correct.
Okay. That's why it's not a huge deal, because we've already spent a lot of time discussing.
The only question I had, Ms. Harold, was I believe we have less than 5 families that still remain affected by the earthquake. I mean, mobile home
We
residents that
have,
were displaced.
yeah, there's 2 that have title issues.
Okay.
There's 2 that the paperwork is still in progress. 3 withdrew.
Okay.
5 are still under construction, 10 have been completed.
Would you mind sending that information out to the council so we have a current report on status? That would be very helpful.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a question, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Mrs. Harold, did you say 3 withdrew?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you want to ask why?
Well, I-
And I may not be able to answer that question.
it just seems.
It-
Well,
I don't know.
If you have the answer, would you mind providing it?
I can provide it in an email to you.
Perfect. Okay,
Okay.
that would be helpful. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone present that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, return it to council. Any additional questions or clarification? Okay, we'd look for approval of resolution number 10-105.
105.
Motion by
Second.
Solomon, second by Sanders. Please ballot.
Motion carried 5-0.
Great job.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
All right, we will move forward then with item number 12, which is discussion and necessary action regarding an amendment with Gorenora Incorporated for integrated solid waste management to include street sweeping services. We have some distinguished guests in the audience, I see.
Yes, we do. I'll let Dean Ruffridge introduce the CR&R staff that he brought along with him.
Good to see you again.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. It's always good to be here, and it's such beautiful weather. We've really been here a couple days, and we've really enjoyed ourselves. Again, my name is Dean Ruffridge, and I think most of you know me. I'm the contract administrator for CR&R here in El Centro. And with me tonight is Mr. Alex Brekovich, a senior vice president with the company. And Alex is one of his many duties is he administers our street sweeping programs in a number of cities in Southern California, and that includes our environmental pollution division of the company. And Alex has been down here several times with me, and I'd like him to give you a little bio and give you an idea of where we do street sweeping and so forth and so forth. If you have any technical questions, this is the guy.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. As Dean mentioned, my name is Alex Brekovich. Been in the industry 23 years. Know quite a bit about the solid waste and recycling business as well as street sweeping business. As far as our experience in terms of street sweeping, we provide street sweeping within our franchise agreements to the City of Temecula, City of Lake Elsinore, and the City of Paris. Temecula has been 17 years, Lake Elsinore has been 15 years, and the City of Paris has been, I believe, about 14 years. We recently began street sweeping in the City of Bellflower, again incorporating street sweeping into our franchise agreement as well. So we have quite a bit of experience with the street sweeping division and working it into our franchise agreements. We've been working diligently with your Public Works Director for the last few months to get this implemented into El Centro as well. It's a significant savings for the city of El Centro, and we look forward to moving forward with this process. There should be a seamless transition. We do not expect to make any changes to the schedule. As a matter of fact, we're going to be using the same operator that is currently operating in El Centro. So the transition itself will be very, very seamless. Pretty much a standard process for us to follow. If you have any questions on that, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mr. Hagan, were you provided with letters of reference, or did you have an opportunity to talk with anyone at Lake Elsinore or in Temecula?
Yes, our staff contacted 2 of the 4 cities mentioned, Bellflower and Lake Elsinore, and they gave good recommendations. I might point out that on the staff report, this is not an amendment, but it's a separate agreement, a trial period of 8 months. The staff report had originally 9 months. This will be 8 months starting November 1st through the end of June. At that time, prior to that time, we would bring this back as an amendment to the waste hauling contract, along with the annual rate increase if there is one. And so currently the budget for street sweeping is an annual budget of $212,000 a year. The proposed rate is $150,000 a year for a savings of $62,000
For that 8 months? right?
per year,
Annualized.
annually.
Mr. Hagan, a couple questions, and I appreciate you guys bringing this forward, but and I appreciate the idea of doing a trial period for the remaining part of the fiscal year. Will the schedule be the same?
Yes, the schedule will be the same as mentioned. The driver, we had a temporary staff person that was doing the street sweeping, driving, and they did hire the driver.
Okay. What about, and this is no negative to CR&R, but would it, if we find this to be an appropriate way to do it, wouldn't we want to go out for bid on this contract, on a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract at the end of June or whenever? Why wouldn't we want to put, I mean, don't we usually put up contracts for bid?
We could. This is a very competitive price, though. I doubt if we could beat it.
One of the, if I may, the process, Councilmember, we went through a long process on this. It started out as actually a review of the trash contract with two members of the council 8 months ago. And one of the things that's in street sweeping is the disposal of the trash. And that's why typically your franchise trash company does your street sweeping, because they have to accept the trash. And this is where it can get complicated. If we have a third party, then, well, that's the way we do it right now. We dump it over on Second, load it into separate 40-yard containers, and then pay to have it picked up again. By having it with the same haulers that handles your trash, you eliminate a good portion of that cost that we're now paying out. That's why you typically see, whether it's here or anywhere else, it's typically your trash hauler, because they're accepting all that trash, and that's where it comes from. So yes, it can be. Is our indications are, if this all works well, that we would include it in our trash hauling contract and would run with the trash hauling contract.
Okay. And that may be fine. I hope when we bring this back, I guess would be the second quarter of next year, that we complete a review of that. And if that's the
absolutely.
recommendation of staff, I'm fine with that.
But that was the
I want to
thinking
see some
behind it.
analysis behind that. And it may make perfect sense, but
Sure.
Again, even if it were letters from other street sweeping companies or other companies that could do this work, that was as simple as, this is our quoted price, this is something that you could match or beat, and that, rather than going through a whole RFP process. But I think that Mr. Edney's
Sure.
point is well taken. I understand Mr. Duran's explanation, but, I mean, if we at least had some cost comparison, where get a couple of letters from other companies and they say there's no way we can match or beat that price, I think that in lieu of an RFP would be satisfactory. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you know, Mr. Solomon and I were the two members of the council who worked with this, working with staff, and of course, Mr. Ruffage, as well as Mr. Hagan. And when we had our meeting, we were pleasantly pleased to have staff come forward with this recommendation. The primary reason for us was the savings.
Mm-hmm.
And the second reason, obviously, is the fact that it will not be put over at what I call our city dump on Second Street. And I think in that, and Mr. Ruffage assured us that we would see a more efficient street sweeping. While the schedule is the same, we really recognize that oftentimes when we have staff that's off, we may miss several weeks in a row before streets are swept. So we think that this trial period would give us the ample time to really explore this and make sure that it's going to meet the needs of our citizens and to be something that the city will embrace.
If I could just segue for a moment from that. Mr. Hagan, how are we going to bring greater visibility to the date, time, and location of when the specific streets are going to be swept? Is this going to be an insert, planned insert in our utility bills, or?
Well, it's currently on our website.
Right.
And
And it's in the last community newsletter that we sent to all the
That's right.
homes.
Okay.
So, because so many people called, we included the map in there. The challenge we really have is,
the cars.
you're due on Tuesday, the individual, something happens, he's not there. 2 weeks later, the vehicle breaks down on that Tuesday. Well, now you're a month. And by going to a contract, we don't have that issue, because CR&R will make sure there's somebody or a vehicle that, in other words, it will happen on a contract basis. When you have one person and one vehicle, it can get spotty. And that's a real concern.
We know this was a recent issue in the newspaper, and obviously, at least from the question that was posed, folks felt that we could maybe do a little better job with regard to the communication piece, which is why I asked if it was going to be included in a insert for our utility bill, and it sounds like that's not.
It just happened.
I think that's why I think the community letter just went out last week.
I'm not
I
talking
remember
about the
getting it.
community letter, I'm talking about an
An
actual insert
Well,
in
this-
your
I
utility
believe it.
statement.
Well, the same
I believe it
piece,
had
Madam
the
Mayor, if I may.
diagram in there.
If
Well,
I may, Mr. Hagan and Mr. Duran.
we can go back and see when the last one was sent
If I
out.
may, Mr. Hagan and Mr. Duran, the same piece of information that's in the community letter, that particular schematic with the map, could be taken out, extracted out, and placed as an insert into the utility bill. And that then would give another venue another opportunity for the public to understand. The one issue that seems to also rise for concerns is when vehicles are parked on the street and the sweeper have to go around. So I think that is something we'll be looking
That's
at for the next, during this trial period, we'll be looking at a way to try to address that.
Okay.
Should work, do you think, Mr. Duran?
Yes, I mean, it's like people
Okay. All right,
being
Mr. Silva?
conscious.
Mrs. Sanders touched on something that I was going to ask as it related to the level of service. As in talking to Mr. Duran, there are occasions where if our employee was out sick or the vehicle was down, there will be a lapse. And other than the contract, on a practical basis, how are we going to ensure that CR&R continues to provide the services on a continuous and on-schedule basis? Because they will also have people that will be out sick and vehicles that will break down just as much as the city. So how do you propose to keep a consistent schedule that we can expect? If it's supposed to be on Tuesday that sweeper will be in front of my house?
Well, to address the vehicle issue, we will have backup vehicles. We have a backup vehicle now, as a matter of fact, in the yard. We have 2 vehicles. In terms of drivers, we have backup drivers that are ready to go in terms of vacations or sick or anything like that. What we've done in other cities, for example, City of Bellflower, we send a daily email to Public Works to let them know when the sweeper completed his route and that everything was fine, or if we had any issues, we can do that as well if you would like us to.
Okay. I think that would be significant. And one thing that I think we need to point out also for the benefit of the audience is that in privatizing this service, it's not impacting any city staff. We're not laying off anybody. No one's losing their job. It's a transition without the loss of personnel.
That's correct. We had a vacancy that we kept as an equipment operator, and we had 2 different staff that would do the driving of the street sweeping vehicle, and the one was a temporary position that we kept until CR&R could hire them. The other one will move into this equipment operator position with no change in pay, so no impact.
Right, and this contract it says here effective October 1.
It actually start November 1st.
November 1?
We're
Okay.
slipping it to them.
There is at least one subdivision that I spoke to Mr. Duran about, and on which I've heard complaints about the lack thereof of street sweeping, and that's on South 4th Street on the south end of the city. That's what subdivision is that, Mr. Duran?
Countryside?
And we have the Buena Vista.
As of 4th Street?
Yeah, both of
It's
those
Countryside?
developments,
Yeah.
Countryside, Legacy Ranch, and Buena Vista will all be included.
Okay. Because they're not on the schedule now, correct? Because they're not. We haven't taken.
There's portions that are not yet. That's
Okay.
correct. We're going to add those in. They
How
will start
soon?
November 1st.
How soon can they go on the rotation? Because evidently, what I've been told
They
is
will be-
there's been months and a long time before any sweeper drove by there, and that it looks pretty
They will
trashy.
start November 1st.
On that
They're
subdivision.
included in the routes.
It's a 2-week cycle, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think Mr. Silva is wondering, will November 1st be the designated date for that particular quadrant of the city? The contract starts November 1st, but will
Right.
that quadrant of the city be the one that's going to be swept first?
They're
It'll be
included in the
within
2-week schedule.
It'll
I'm
be
not,
within the cycle, 2-week
but
cycle.
they're included in the
So
cycle.
no later than the middle of November that they
That's
should have,
correct.
at least have one run.
Yes.
I think that CR&R has proven itself with their trash ability to be on time. The only thing that I was questioning was the fact of what Mr. Edney and Mrs. Walker has said about at the end of the 8 months period, 9 months, that we do have an opportunity to see if there's anybody else out there and what their prices would be. I feel that there's not going to be anyone to beat no $62,000 right off the top, but I think since we're spending taxpayers' money, we should have an opportunity to look at that, but not until the program is over, and we get a chance to bring those back and give us a summary of everything. How they did is what we really want to know.
Yes, we can certainly request some proposals be submitted and compare those prices and services as well.
Okay, if there's no additional questions, no members of the public, we'd look for approval of resolution number 10-106.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Solomon, second by Sanders. Please ballot.
Motion carried 5-0.
Okay. Item, thank you very much.
If I could make one more comment, Madam Mayor. It's a pleasure to be here. In the small towns that we live in, once this got agendized, I will let you know that 3 other cities contacted Alex and I, right your adjacent neighbors, because there really aren't commercial street sweepers here in the county.
That's true.
And we met with 2 of them today and 1 yesterday, and they're all excited about doing something like what we're doing here. And one of them, we have a contract race some of the years. So we're very excited about bringing this part of our business to Imperial County.
So do we get some kind of finder's fee for that, Dean, or?
Maybe we could do lunch one day, I'm not sure.
That's probably not legal, but Mr. Ruffers, we do our best to try to lead.
Yes, sir, I know you do.
Actually, if you want to do something, do those 2 neighborhoods that haven't been swept in a long time.
Actually, Terry, Mr.
Right-
Hagan
right
talked
now.
to us about that, and
Just go out
probably
there.
try to get those into a day real quick.
Appreciate it.
So I think it's a good win-win situation.
go do it
It proves how well I think this partnership has gone for the city as well as for CR&R. We're very excited about it. We're excited about being here. Look forward to being here a long time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, item number 13 is an informational item. That now brings us to public comment. We do have Joanne Villarreal. Did you want to speak again, or just let us know that you're here? Right, did you want to speak, or just, okay. It'll be noted that we have 4 members, four folks in the audience in opposition to the continuing moratorium on the medicinal marijuana dispensaries.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is the purpose of you guys attending and stating your opposition during the public hearing, tell me what the purpose for that is, during public comments?
I believe we're going to be here, whether this collective opens or not, and we're hoping that in December that we're going to have an ordinance where, we can kind of get our collective open and stuff like that, and if it opens still, I'm just going to be here at every meeting and stuff like that. It's part of the-
Okay, but
We want to kind of be involved in the community. Not a lot of people attend this, so we're one of the very few that are willing to come in here and listen, not only for all, we're going through, but some of the other stuff going on in the community.
But I get you stated by your comment that you understand that we have scheduled to discuss this in our December meeting. Okay. All right.
Okay, no other members of the public, then at this time, we'll move on to mayor and council member reports. Mrs. Sanders?
At the League of Cities meeting last week, our council colleague, Mr. Edney, was elected to be president of our Imperial County Division, so we all would like to applaud him for stepping up to the plate and accepting that responsibility. He needs to know that we expect great things from him. We expect the same type of tenacity and leadership that he provided at SCAG to be demonstrated here at our division. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Solomon?
Just wanted to say that the Film Commission is having a red carpet in March or April. This will be local people who have short projects, short films that they have made, and so we're going to display, I think it's 5 local people that have done this short projects, so we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, very good. Mr. Solomon?
Just 2 things. Last week, I was asked to attend a meeting with Mr. Luis Fuentes, our county supervisor from the area of Calexico, Mr. Daniel Romero, who's a council member in Calexico, myself, and we met with some individuals, primarily private sector people in Mexicali, who and are members of this binational border issues committee that looks at issues that are impacting both the Mexicali and Calexico area, Imperial Valley area along and across the entire border. Their primary concern in attempting to come up with ideas and suggestions for the federal government has to do with border weights, which have a significant impact, economic impact on our community, both Mexicali and Imperial Valley. And I've been asked to participate with them when they have meetings, when they have discussions, and as your representative for us, a Mexicali liaison, I accepted that responsibility, and more information to come. I also wanted to inform council members that last week we were approached and asked by the Mexican consulate if the city of El Centro would help out and sponsor a concert that they have scheduled for November 27th here in El Centro at the Southwest Performing Arts Theater. It'll be the centennial celebration of the Mexican Revolution Day. They've asked the city to participate, and we have found private sponsors to help out. The city sponsor, the mariachi who will accompany the main performer. It's going to be a free concert for the community. It's going to be really a first-class event. It'll be publicized. All of you guys and elected officials will receive an invitation from the consulate. Unfortunately, the day that they scheduled this for is not a very practical date for a lot of us. That's November 27th, which is Thanksgiving weekend. And a lot of people won't be here, unfortunately, but that's the only day that the performer was available. We've also are teaming up with Centro High School District for the use of the auditorium. Again, private donations from folks that are providing the resources to put this together. I look forward to that. I think it's going to be a very nice cultural event for our community, free to our community, and I'm hoping that the council can join us on that day.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Edney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of points. One, I certainly appreciate Ms. Sanders' comments. I want to say I appreciate the support of my colleagues here. I believe we were the only city in attendance that had all 5 members of their council in attendance. You may, Ms. Sanders, get more than you bargained for with your request. Anyway, thank you guys. One point I want to make, I appreciate Mr. Silva's work. Obviously, we know that everybody in Imperial Valley, and I mean that, not just Calexico, is affected by that border delay. One point I think that not only the federal government is not doing a very good job at, but certainly maybe we as a community, as a county, can work harder towards getting people to, certainly people on this side of the border. I can't necessarily solve the problem on that side of the border, but getting people to apply for that Centro. It's not a very difficult process. I did it recently, and one of the reasons I think a lot of people were reluctant to go through the process is they were under a misconception that it was $140 or $160 a year. And in fact, it's about $140 for 5 years. Well, you know, if you go to Mexico one time, I think in that 5 years, for many of us, it would be worth the $120 not to wait in line 3 hours. But I go over there sometimes, and it's interesting because the line to walk across, or to come back across the border, is 2 to 3 hours in this heat. And I go down there and I walk across, and you walk right to the front of the line, and at no point has anybody ever been in front of me in the Century line on the walk. I'm not saying it's always that way on the car. It's not certainly quite as great under the car, but it is a significant saving. But here's a program that's pretty inexpensive that, you know, we criticize the federal government all the time, but here's one that actually seems to be working pretty well. It's a very quick process. You do it online. You make one appointment, you go down there, boom, they register you and your car, you get a card and a sticker for your car, you're done for 5 years. And I should say that one of the interesting things I found out is they have something called Global Entry, which is an additional program which, if you're in the Century, is free, which comes with your flight, which means anytime you travel abroad via airplane, most or many of the airports, certainly the international airports, have a custom-free zone computer where you go and put your fingerprints on a computer and you announce whether you're declaring and you go right past customs to the baggage claim. So you're going to Portugal? Hurry up. Too late. I don't know if you can get it done in 4 weeks. But, I mean, it is a good program. It's one that, you have to say is working. And I don't think anybody's using it down here.
Yeah, no, I'll echo your comments. I was in Mexicali Sunday, and coming back, the regular line coming back was at least 2 hours long. It took me 3 minutes to get past through the Century lane.
I mean,
It's
for
incredible.
me and you, we don't want people to know that because that just means the light will get bigger. But, I mean, really, as far as people who have to commute, people who want to go there for dinner or what, the carnival was going on
Yeah,
last
the
week?
Fiesta del Sol.
I mean, it's worth the savings. So
Yeah.
I don't know how we can, maybe you can work with the Mexican consulate or others in Imperial Valley, Mr. Fuentes, and see about how we can promote that program.
And they're about to open the Century lane on the east port of entry
Right.
as well.
Thank you. John, all of us were there because we wanted to make sure that you didn't back out on your commitment to become league president. I'd like to thank Chief McGinley for his presentation to the Imperial County Bar Association. I think that was very well received. Had a lot of great comments afterwards on what a fine police chief we were able to secure for the city of El Centro, so I thank you for that. The downtown event, I'm going to get the name wrong, Peace and Pumpkin Harvest? Fall Festival. Very well done. Appreciate staff's time. Did you have any comments with regard to the event? Was it?
We received a lot of good feedback. We've given out 300 bags by 6:30 that night, so we estimated the crowd about 600.
And it was one of, I think, 4 events going on pretty much within that same time frame. 3 of them here in El Centro and 1 up in Imperial. So.
There's one in Brawley, too.
And Brawley. I didn't make it to the one in Brawley, but I made it to the others. Oh, that's right. That'll
There
go.
was homecoming.
That's right.
Southwest homecoming.
There is, our RDA group has set up a meeting with the Probation Department on October 28th at 10:30 a.m. I am unable to attend, but I would hope that another council member could
Is it going to
email.
be, could email you with our availability?
I would ask that you email Deborah, if
Okay.
you would, please. It'll be at the RDA office on the 28th at 10:30.
Okay.
And I will be out of town, Ms. Mayor,
Right.
and Madam Mayor, and I won't be able to.
I have a LAFCO meeting.
Okay.
Then there, I'm it.
Okay,
Ben
Ms.
or
Sanders
I
will
are
be
it.
attending,
Okay.
okay. The last thing I wanted to mention very briefly is that there's been a lot of interest lately in reforming or reconstituting or starting a new, an arts council in the Imperial Valley, maybe starting here in El Centro. And I'd like to thank Christy, our Parks and Recreation Director, for attending the initial gathering event on October 2nd, 3rd. We've had a number of meetings since that time with a core group of people, and it looks like we're moving forward with the reestablishment of an arts council. So preview of coming attractions on that. If there is
Madam
nothing
Mayor,
else.
yes, and I apologize for, I got so carried away with Mr. Edney's announcement, yes, that I failed to acknowledge several others. Of course, this Thursday is the governor's small business workshop. It's going to be held at the Expo. And then Saturday is the Aviation Day, so all young people who wish to try their wings, they're giving an opportunity to get up and fly with some seasoned pilots. I'm not sure if it's too late for us to consider a letter or something in support of those advocates for renaming of the Performing Arts Pavilion over at Southwest, the Jimmy Cannon Pavilion. Can we still have a chance to lend our voices of support for that? I would like to see that we
I
do.
don't know what the time frame is on
I don't
that.
either, but if it's, for the, there is some proponents that wish to rename the Southwest Performing Arts Facility, the Jimmy Cannon facility. And if it's not too late for us to lend our voices of support, I'd like to see that we give that some consideration. This council give it some consideration. I'd also like to bring to your attention that, well, okay, we'll decide.
If I could offer, because it's not agendized, it doesn't
No,
prevent
it's- it
each
can
of you,
come back.
each of you individually could write to the
We can
group
write to the
and
proponents.
indicate your feelings about this. I'm just,
Sanders, could you find out who we could do that to?
Yes, it's to
Clark Baker.
Clark Baker. And I just think it would be a very nice gesture. The last item is Captain Jerry of the Salvation Army would like a letter. Now, this would need to be agendized. I know a letter of support from the city as he is seeking for a men's shelter located at their facility on 5th and Park. They need this support letter to send to headquarters. We have a men's shelter, but we wanted to upgrade it somewhat. And so we would need a letter of support acknowledging that we do have a homeless population. And it would be able to house approximately 10 men. The intent is to have these individuals come in for a maximum of 3 days, and then hopefully they will be able to be recirculated through the community and maybe get their lives back on track. For a total of 3 days at a time, but they can stay a total of 1 month to try to help them get reestablished and work through some of the challenges that they have, some of the social challenges they have.
What's the timeline on that, Ms. Sanders?
Actually, Captain Jerry is usually calling when he wants something yesterday, but I told him we would not be able to do this for him before the first of the month.
Okay.
And I will email that to you and CC it to City Manager. and
Mayor,
everyone.
we handle these kinds of requests internally regularly. If we can have that
Okay.
sent to us,
To-
Deborah, you can have the housing folks look at this, because it falls under our housing
Okay.
program for
So-
supporting. So we do that internally from our staff with those letters of support.
So where would you like me to?
Well, if you can send it to Deborah,
Send it to Deborah, okay,
and then she can get it to the right,
okay,
and then it's for my signature.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Can I just do one quick commercial for IBC? IBC, for the benefit of the council and the audience, IBC is having an open house on October 30th. For those of you that have not seen the new building, it's really a beautiful facility. All of us should be proud of what has been done in the science building. It's going to be a fun event. It begins at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday the 30th, and the public is invited. There will be carnival atmosphere, pumpkin patch, and hope you guys can join us.
What time did you say?
9 o'clock on the 30th.
Okay. With that, we will adjourn. Council will open as redevelopment. We'll note all members are present. Again, this is a meeting of the redevelopment agency. It is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, please complete a speaker slip. Come forward when the item is announced. You will have 3 minutes for your presentation. If you wish to address the agency on any other matter within our jurisdiction, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. Minutes will reflect all members are present. There are no scheduled public comments. We have one item on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a motion by Edney, second by Silva. Ballot?
Motion carried 5-0.
Okay, items 2 and 3 are information items. Are there any questions for staff with regard to anything on the reports? Okay, with that, we are adjourned as redevelopment. We will then go back into closed session as council.